Hey everybody, welcome to my kitchen. You turn off the water behind me. I'm thawing some chicken. I want to show you today the easy way to make rice. I know a lot of people have problems with rice and getting it right. So I want to show you the easy way to do it and the way that I do my rice. And the first thing you're going to need is a good heavy pot. This one is a Stonedyne. I know some of you have seen the infomercials for these. Yes, I did buy something from an infomercial. I love these. These are fabulous. They don't stick, they don't burn. So get yourself a good heavy pot. And I'm going to be doing something a little different today. Normally I would just do rice, but I'm going to do barley and rice mixture because it just adds more nutrients to your rice. So I've got my rice. I've got to get some more because I'm running low. And I don't measure, okay? I just eyeball how much rice I'm thinking I'm going to need. I'm going to need quite a bit of rice because I'm going to use this in the bottom of a casserole that I'm going to make, and I will show you the casserole in the next video. Alright, so I've poured roughly, I'd say, 2 cups of rice into this bowl, into this pot. I do everything in one pot. It just makes life easier. Now I've got pearl barley, okay? And it does have instructions for cooking. And it needs to cook a little bit longer than your rice does. So, knowing that, I'm going to actually cook this separately in another pot. So I'm going to mix them together later, okay? You can follow the directions on the back of looking for a pair of scissors here. There's, you know, children in this house, so things go missing quite frequently. Don't have one, let's grab a knife. Alright, so follow the instructions on this as to how long you need to cook. But it's pretty much basically the same instructions as for cooking rice, only a longer time. So I'm just going to put probably a cup of barley into this pot. Now this is where people mess up. Measuring your water. There is an easy way to do this and to get it right every single time, and you don't need to use anything to measure. First of all, I want you to wash or rinse your rice. I don't know how well you can see this. I'm just pouring water in and moving it around with my hand. And you're going to notice the water's kind of cloudy. Now that's all the powder that comes off of the rice, and you don't want that. You don't want to eat that. You don't want that in your rice because it's what helps it burn, actually. So I'm going to just rinse my rice, pour that water off. Try not to make it a tremendous mess. You get most of the water out of there. I'll rinse it twice. Make sure. It's far less cloudy now. More what I want to deal with. You could do this through a sieve, but why? Why make a mess? If a little bit of that water is still in there, it's fine. Now, measuring your water. I just pour the water, let the water come in from the tap, flatten my rice out on the bottom, try and level it, and then I put my fingertip in. When the water reaches that first knuckle, my finger was touching the rice itself, and when the water reaches the first knuckle, that's enough water. I have a one-butt kitchen. As you can see, there's room for one butt in here. I'm actually able to maneuver in this kitchen because it is so narrow, and I can hold on to the counters because standing for me is kind of an issue. So I'm going to do the same thing with my barley. I'm going to rinse it, even though the instruction doesn't say to. I just feel that it's better. So I'm going to rinse my barley. I'm only going to rinse that once. And I'm going to do the same thing. Fill it with water to where my first knuckle is where the water comes to, right here. And set it on the stove. Now, if you are one that likes to add things to your rice or barley like salt or butter or anything, feel free to do that. I don't feel that it needs anything in there. I've put it on high because I want to bring it to a boil. Once it comes to a boil, you can hear it sizzle because there's water on the bottom of those pans. Once it comes to a boil, I'm going to put a lid on it, and I'll show you that in just a second. Okay, so your water is going to turn cloudy as you're cooking. See if you can see that. Bear with me. I've not done this before in the filming in my kitchen. The kitchen's so little. I don't have any storage space for anything. So the water's turned a little bit cloudy. That's okay. You don't have to worry about that. It's going to do that naturally. So I'm just going to let that come to a boil. And as soon as it does, because I have them on high right now, I'm going to turn them down to medium-low so they just simmer, and put a lid on both of them. And then we're going to start a timer. So here it comes. Okay, so my rice in the back is starting to boil. I'm just going to give it a minute and get it to a nice rolling boil. Just when the bubbles start to break the surface isn't going to be quite enough. I want that to actually be boiling. As you see, it's turning cloudy and it's got a little bit of a bubbly thing going on top, and that's okay. The grains are softening, and this is where people mess up. They want to leave it on high, and they want to leave it uncovered or cover it too soon. Don't do that. Just let it sit until it boils, and then you're going to cover it. So when you get a nice rolling boil, you can see the barley starting to move quite a bit right there. You're going to get a nice rolling boil on it, and that's when you're going to put that lid on and turn it down. Now, I prefer a gas stove, but I'm in a rental. So because I'm in a rental, you know, I'm going to have to just deal with what I've got. And a gas stove is great because when you turn the heat off, the heat is off. Or when you turn it down, it's down. There's no waiting for the coils to cool down. So here we go. The barley is really starting to boil now. I don't know if you can see that. Let me see if I can get in closer on that. Like I said, bear with me. This is not exactly something I've done before in my kitchen. There we go. It's really starting to boil. So that's what I want. I want that rolling boil. I'm just going to go ahead and put the top on and turn this down to a medium-low heat. Barley, you want to cook for 45 minutes. So I could set my timer for 45 minutes, but what I'm going to do instead, oh no, I'll go ahead and do that. Set that for 45, and then I will have to set another timer. I'll do that on my phone for my rice when it comes to a boil. Now if it's starting to boil over, just lift the lid one time and let that out. Just let it simmer. Now, once you've put the lid on, other than to keep it from boiling over like that, because again, we're dealing with an electric stove, you don't want to take that top off again. You really, really don't. You want to leave that on because you want all that liquid to go right back into the grains. And this wants to boil over, even though I've turned the heat way down. I'm going to pull it off just because, again, we're dealing with an electric stove. There we go. Just let that simmer like that because I want all of that liquid to absorb into the grain. Now, another nice trick is instead of using water to cook your oats and grains, you can use stock. I use chicken stock, and I was going to use chicken stock for this recipe because of the chicken casserole I'm going to make with it, but I decided we would just go with water right now just because for ease of understanding for everybody. That rice is now bubbling away. I'm going to cover it and turn it down too. My barley wants to give me problems. Turn it down even farther. So that's what we're going to do. I'm just going to let that cook away for its allotted time. I'm going to wait 20 minutes on that, and the rice will be done in 20, and I'll show you that in just a minute. Okay, so I've got about 5 minutes left on the rice. I want to take a second and talk to you about the rice that you're using. There's a lot of different rices on the market. Most of them are enriched. You don't want them. Enriched simply means that the rice has been so processed and bleached to the point that the nutrients have been stripped out of it. So they had to like put some random nutrient back in there to enrich it to make sure that it had some food value. I buy my rice from a Asian food market, and I get a semi-sticky rice. There's several brands that are available. I prefer Korean rice over the Japanese rice. That's just a preference. A lot of it comes from the fact that I was raised in Korea, and that's what we do. So my rice is going to be a little bit stickier, and it's going to have a whole lot more nutritional value than, say, using a converted rice. There's a brand out there that prides themselves on being the converted rice. I call it the perverted rice, because really there's no food value. You're just getting a whole bunch of starch and a whole bunch of carbohydrate, and it's an empty carb, kind of like you get empty sugars. It's an empty carb. It has no value whatsoever. So stay away from that. Get yourself a good quality rice. It lasts a lot longer when you put it in a container. I've got to get some more, and is easier to work with. You also need to make sure that when you buy rice like that, that you do rinse that rice and wash it, because sometimes there's little rocks or pebbles and stuff in there. And if you are using a rice cooker, which is what I normally do, I don't tend to do it this way. I tend to use a rice cooker. Same trick. Put your finger just so the fingertip is touching the surface of the rice after you've shaken it and leveled it out, and bring the water to that first knuckle. And that's all you need. So let's see how my rice is doing. The last thing I want to do is open it. You don't open it until it's done, okay? Because you're going to release a lot of that moisture, and no. So let me pop this up so you're actually seeing what I'm doing. Okay, so I've got my rice right here. I've put a clear glass top on it because I don't want to have to open the lid, but it is done from what I can see. Oh no, there's still a little water in it. I'm going to let it cook just a little bit more. I want all of that water to be gone and absorbed into the rice. So probably another 5 minutes and it will be ready. The barley's cooking away nicely. It's making itself a nice little mess because it does tend to bubble over more. It's very frothy when it's cooking, but you really want to soften that grain. So that is going to be done here in another 25 minutes. It takes quite some time. I'm seeing I don't have that much liquid left in it, so I'm going to turn it all the way down to low because I just want that liquid to really work itself into the grain. Let's see what's going on with the rice. Take it off the heat, tip it to check it, see how much liquid I've got, and I really don't have much, so I'm ready to go there. Take it off the heat, take your top off, be careful of the steam, and here's another step that people don't know. It's going to continue cooking until you move it. If you just leave it in that pot like that, it's going to keep cooking, but you see how I've got nice, soft, kind of sticky, and the bottom is not burned or browned. That's all there is to it. But I want to keep moving that because I want the cooking to stop. I'm going to put it in a bowl and let it cool because I'm going to be building my casserole with it here shortly. I'm going to dump that out into a bowl as I get a steamed face. Let's see if you can see this. Because I know a lot of people end up with burned rice on the bottom. I don't have burned rice. My rice has come out real nice. There's no browning, nothing. And just from that, like 2.5 cups of rice, I've gotten this huge bowl of rice. Right here. You see there's no brown, nothing. It's just nice and fluffy and a little sticky. So I'm going to set that to the side. And since I have agitated it and moved it and released the heat, again, I'm going to pop this camera up, sorry. I'm not going to have overcooked rice. It's going to just sit there and cool for me now. This rice is awesome for making sushi or kimbap or whatever it is you want to make, whatever you want to call it, because it has just enough sticky in it for the rice to sit together and to adhere to your seaweed wrap. And actually I'm going to do a tutorial on that probably in the next week or two, making Korean style sushi, which is called kimbap. And it's one of my favorite things in the world to eat, and the kids, Kids can't get enough of it. So now we're just going to wait until the barley's done, and I'll show you that in just a second. Okay, so my barley is done. Let me turn that water off again. I have water running because I have cold water running over the chicken thighs for my casserole. There's your barley. Doo, 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 doo. It's pretty full. And again, no burning, no sticking, no nothing. The trick is in the liquid and in the timing. So, let me adjust this one more time. Blah. You guys are going to get motion sick from all of this because I'm just like that. And I'm going to go ahead and scoop that on top of the rice. Look at that. It's a good way to hide a little bit more nutritious food from your kids too. They may eat rice, but they don't want to eat brown rice, so stick some barley in there. And all that little bit of barley plumped up that much. It's kind of the same thing with rice in that you need to agitate it a little bit, move it around so that it does not, scrape that off of there, it does not continue cooking and get mushy. But all that's going to be mixed through together. I've got easy cleanup because I don't have burned on anything. Not from there, and I didn't rinse my rice out yet either, so I want to show you that. And not from there. That is the quick, easy way to do your rice. I hope that helped some of you, because the other thing is when you're putting butter in, when you're cooking your rice, butter burns. Butter burns quickly because you see how quickly a stick of butter will melt? Well, it's in the water, it's melted, and those fats burn a lot faster than the grains do. So if you want to butter your rice, I suggest you do it at the end when you're finished and just put it through and mix it through. But for Mama Giesbrecht, barley and rice, the easy way. No real measuring. Works. All right, guys. See you in a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and start making my casserole. So if you want to see that video, it should be coming up and be posted very shortly. All right. See ya.